fearless females. So on this podcast, I wanted to talk about relationships. So when I say relationships, I'm talking mainly about romantic relationships, but some of this will also be applicable for friendships and also family relationships. So I wanted to talk about some of my experiences as a single woman when I was dating and up to now where I am in a happy relationship, and so happy in fact that I'm engaged. So all worked out well. So there's something here for all of you. Now, before I begin, I want to clarify that I am no relationship expert or relationship coach or anything like that. So I'll be covering things based on my experiences and what has worked for me and what I learned through my interactions. I also have many female friends and family members who talk to me about their struggles, about being single or dating, and even within a relationship. And I always offer advice in hope for them to fix whatever issues they have. So people do turn to me for advice and tips and things. So this is what I will be talking about. Right, so let's get stuck in. So let me start off with my story. So I've always been one of those people who took education seriously and kept key focus on learning and being my best self. So throughout school and college, I was single and I didn't really take an interest in boys. I had a lot of male friends, but never boyfriends. So I met my first ever boyfriend whilst I was traveling on my own in Malaysia. So this is when I was 20 years old, and we became friends whilst we were in Malaysia for the time that we knew each other. We then kept in touch, we met up again, and then we realized that there was a connection. So we decided to turn it into something more than friends. And I guess the rest is history. So I'm telling you this story because I was fairly young when I got into this relationship. So I think it's fairly young, 20 years old. And I didn't really know myself or what I wanted from my future. So I was in university at the time studying, and I pretty much was just taking each year as it came. And I wanted to focus on my exams and also enjoying my time as a student in university. So I was at that stage where I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I've got a boyfriend, great. Many of my other friends had them as well. But I didn't really know what I wanted from that or even know myself. So when I look back on my first relationship, I think it worked for the stage of life that I was at. But I even knew at the time that it wasn't going to be long term for many reasons. So we were both very different people, which can work. Obviously, sometimes it works. But the key differences between us were in our values and which direction of life we were looking to go in. So that was a recipe for disaster. The relationship lasted 2.5 years. And after it ended, I actually felt a sense of freedom when I kind of came back into my single life, let's say. And it was such a liberating experience for me. So that relationship taught me a lot about myself. I realized then what worked for me, what I wanted, and what I should stay away from. Although we did have some great times, there were also the bad. And one thing which was noticed by my friends and family was that I wasn't my usual happy, positive self whilst in this relationship. So something was changing within me. And I obviously didn't see it, but people from the outside saw that. So that was a trigger moment for me to make a change. I knew that that wasn't right. And also I was quite comfortable with where I was at. So it just kind of kept ticking along. So I don't know how many of you have been in that situation where you're in a relationship and you feel comfortable day in, day out, and you just keep it ticking along because it works. But actually, there are things that could be improved or things that you should almost kind of stay away from. So what I had was not healthy, and I know many other women go through this as well. So after this relationship, I ended up booking a one-way flight and doing a 3-month backpacking trip across Central America on my own. Now, this was a turning point for me. So I'd met so many amazing people. I really built my confidence, independence, and I was just able to take the world back on when I got home. I learned to love myself and, more importantly, be comfortable by myself. And through this experience, I decided single life was the way for me. So for all of you single ladies out there, you may have heard people saying you can only have love for others when you're able to love yourself or something along the lines of that. Well, I can say that I completely relate to that. So I did a lot of soul searching and I found myself and I love myself. And then I felt ready to start dating. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do a long travel stint on your own to accomplish this, as there are many things that you can do from the comfort of your own home, but it's a mindset and feeling that I believe you need to make relationships work. So what I found when I was in that state of mind of loving myself, so I was happy, I was positive, and I took risks. I felt confident about going out of my comfort zone and meeting new people. I didn't allow anyone to knock me down or hurt me because I knew that I was good enough. Deep down, I knew I was just in such a happy place. I didn't need to depend on anybody else to comfort me, to support me. I felt free, independent in all areas, which was just an amazing experience. So during the next 5 years, I was single. Yes, 5 years of being single. And this was through choice. So I was focusing on my work, but still very open to meeting new people and also dating. So I lived in 4 different cities in the space of 5 years. So again, that contributed to my independence and sense of freedom. And I never really felt the need to be in a relationship because I felt so happy with just myself. I was in a really good place, exploring new places, meeting new people, and just having fun, really enjoying my life. So this takes me into online dating. So during those 5 years of being single, I was on and off online dating because it was the new trend and I wanted to check it out. So I've always known that I wanted a family when I'm older and that eventually I would need to settle down, meet someone, and would like to have children. So I didn't rule anything out. And as my confidence was high at the time and I was used to meeting so many people, I decided to join Tinder. So Tinder was the first app which I had ever used. I was actually really nervous when I started using it because I didn't know what to expect. And my only concern was the safety element of it because you're talking to all these people online and you've never met them and you don't know if they're weird or psychos. Like, it's hard to tell just on your phone through messaging them without actually seeing them. But I gave it a shot and started dating. So I met a few guys when I was living up north and I found that I was pretty picky. So I had a set of standards and values which I was working to, and I found it hard to connect with the guys that I had met. So it was pretty much first dates only for me with very minimal second dates. I didn't want to really waste my time or theirs. And I found the more that I went on first dates, the more I realized what I actually wanted from a relationship. I got to know even more about myself through online dating and living up north and meeting all these different people. So I felt like I was able to see through the crap, let's say. And I went in with no expectations. And obviously some guys were going in with some expectations, right? As expected. So I was surprised to have actually met some really decent guys through online dating, but it just didn't really work for me. And I also have some horror stories as well, which I'll talk about in a while. So I was filtering everyone through based on what I was looking for in a partner. So I ended up remaining single whilst I lived up north for 3 years. So some of the horror stories here. So for a first date, most girls, I would say, tend to dress up. And by dress up, I mean just at least put a bit of makeup on, make a bit of effort, let's say. It's not even girls, actually. I'd say people in general make an effort for a first date. So I was actually meeting someone and we were supposed to be going for a museum for the first date. I love museums, by the way. And as I approached our meeting spot, I recognized him, but I was thinking, oh my gosh, what is he wearing? He had pretty much rocked up on this day in joggers and a hoodie. And the worst of it is it wasn't a nice hoodie. It was pretty scruffy and stained. And it just looked like he got out of bed. And I was put off. So for me, I was like, okay, let's just see how this goes. And it just wasn't the best first impression. Another one actually lied to me about his height. So I am 5'10", so fairly tall for a girl. And I do wear small heels now and then. So he told me that he was 6 foot. And obviously when someone tells you their height, you have no reason to not believe them. So I just thought, okay, he's 6 foot, great. Anyway, when we met up, I recognized his face, but definitely didn't recognize his height. He was shorter than me, which I actually didn't mind. But what I did mind was his lying. So I confronted him about it and I said, why did you lie to me? And he had made an assumption that I would not have met him or spoken to him if I knew that he was shorter than me. So that just completely put me off about the whole lying, because I think if he's lied about his height, what else has he lied about? So I got out of that date pretty quickly and didn't really see him again. I have one more horror story that I wanted to share with you, which is actually quite a disappointing one, let's say. I was talking to someone on Tinder and I realized that we didn't really have much in common and I wasn't really interested in pursuing it any further. So when he asked me for my number, I just kindly said no and said my piece about how I didn't think we were right for each other. And then he flipped. So up until then, it was very nice chat. He was friendly, nice person. And as soon as I said no, he started racially attacking me. He said a few things to me and it was quite hurtful. So that was a shock for me to actually have that kind of response from someone through a rejection. But I felt so glad that I didn't give him my numbers. He just flipped out of nowhere. So yeah. So ladies, I know you have your reservations about online dating, but it is a great way to meet nice guys. There are so many success stories out there. I have many friends or cousins who have met nice guys through online dating who are now even married. So I know it's scary putting yourself out there on apps when you're exposed, let's say, but it can all be worth it. And I do know it's a bit tedious, the process of swiping and filtering through and trying to find the right one. And I know I've spent quite a lot of time doing it. So in the past, so I do understand the frustrations, but this is the first step in actually trying to make something happen. So get signed up, find an app that works for you. I haven't been on apps for many years now, so I can't actually recommend one. I don't know what's now and current, but what I would say is I enjoyed back in the day using Bumble because the girl has to make the first move, so you're in control. So I'd recommend it if you are single and looking to meet new people. So I moved to London in 2017 for my work, and based on what I was like, I didn't really see myself staying in London for more than 2 years because I just found myself hopping from city to city, job to job, just looking to explore really. And majority of my family and friends are based in London. So when I got here, I was loving life. I had so many social plans that dating pretty much went out the window. I did try Bumble in the first few months when I was in London, but then I gave it a break. I just wasn't interested in meeting anyone and wanted time to myself and to spend the time with those who I love who were around me. So the break from dating definitely felt refreshing, and I think I was doing my thing and didn't meet anybody in about 1 year through my own choice. So I explored, went traveling, and enjoyed my time in London. I always say things hit you when you least expect it. So in 2018, men, relationships, and dating was all pretty much at the back of my mind completely, as I was just loving my life and I didn't want it to change. Then all of a sudden, I was introduced to my now fiance. So we started texting, and even during the initial texting period, I knew that it felt different. I remember the feeling of sitting at my desk at work and not really focusing because I was waiting for that next text to come in. And when it did, a smile just automatically came off my face, and my colleagues around me obviously knew what was going on. And that initial period of it was just texting. We hadn't even met at the time. It just felt really nice. So we had our first date planned out. And again, I went in with no expectations. And as soon as I saw him, I was obviously attracted to him. And we were so engrossed in conversation in our date that we ended up chatting for the whole evening. We were the last to leave the venue, and I got home pretty late. So I was taken away with the conversation, his beliefs, his ambitions, and that he was obviously really good looking, so that helped. So all in all, it was definitely a hit of a first date, and I felt this feeling of I can't wait to see him again. And I can't say I've actually felt that before. And a lot of girls always say when you go on your first date, a lot of my friends always used to ask, oh, do you want to see him again? And I always thought to myself, no, not really. Like it wouldn't make much difference if I did or not. Like I'm not really feeling it, although the person was very nice. So we instantly clicked and things progressed from there. We continued dating, then became official, and then moved in together and got engaged last year in 2020. But relationships aren't always easy. So we have had our fair share of ups and downs, but they don't really linger or last long because we talk it out and nip it in the bud. So one thing which I've learned from my relationship is communication is key. I tell my partner everything from how I'm feeling, if I'm having a bad day, if something is bothering me, even if he's done something to upset me, I just let it out. Anything goes. And he's the same with me. So we have this check-in that we do every week, which he introduced to us in 2019. And it's been such a savior as we document our week and how we are feeling. And it just helped our communication. So these are the 5 things which we do for our check-in procedure. And we also document this in a journal. So we have the same journal from 2019. And it's actually sometimes quite nice looking back and flicking through the pages and seeing what things were like back then and the kind of things that we appreciated or talked about. So here are the 5 things which we do. Number 1, we talk about what we appreciated from each other from that week. So that could be as small as I appreciated you making me a meal, or I appreciated you listening to me for 15 minutes whilst I ranted about something, or whatever it is. So we try and aim for 3. Sometimes it's more, majority of the time it's more actually, should I say, and sometimes it's less. So it just depends on how the week's gone. Number 2, what we have to get done that week. So our to-do list that we have to do together. So I can give you an example of this. So when we were looking at buying our place, we had things on the to-do list such as talk to the lawyers or sort out the mortgage or call the bank and things like that. Things that we had to get done together. Number 3 is our plan for good times. So what are we going to do together? So that could be a date night, for example, or it could be a walk with some friends or a party that we're going to or anything. That is our plan to have good times. Number 4, opportunities to improve. So this is quite self-explanatory. This is where we talk about our challenges or frustrations or anything that we would like to see improved in our relationship or within each other. So I can give you an example of this. So the one thing that I do is talk over people. And I think it's just a family thing because me and my family, when we get together, we're just talking so much and we end up talking over each other. And I don't even realize that I do it. And one of the things that my partner said is, you're talking over me a bit too much this week. And I was like, okay, cool. So I need to reel that in and just think about that a bit more and be conscious of it because it's not nice being talked over, is it? So something that I need to improve on. Number 5 is highlights of the week. So this could be anything from what our individual highlights or our couple highlights. So the individual highlights, for example, for me recently have been things that I've been working on in Fearless Females. So it could be a podcast that I've released. It could be I've had a good week of doing work on it. It could be that we've had a good weekend spending time with the family or whatever that is. And that would be our highlight section. So through this check-in, we have managed to create an open, safe environment for us to talk about our feelings or things that we can do better. And it's worked so well. And we now just do it like clockwork. And it's a non-negotiable. So it's a weekly thing that we do. Even if we're not together, we then do it over the phone. Or if we forget the book, then we write it on our phone and then transfer it into the book. So there's always ways around how we can do it. There's no excuses, let's say. And I'd highly recommend that you try this with your partner. It's really effective and it's great for communication. And so the next hurdle, let's say, is getting married. So this is going to be very new for me. And it's really interesting because I feel when we get married that not much will change because we already live together and we've been together for that long. So we know each other very well. But then I always hear people ask newlywed couples, so what's married life like? Thinking, what would have changed? But maybe I'm missing a trick. Maybe there's something coming. Who knows? But I'm very, very excited to get married and then take it from there. Let our relationship blossom even further. So my overall message here is that relationships are also difficult and it takes time and effort to work on them. Sacrifices and compromises may need to be made, so it's best to remain open-minded and understanding of each other. My partner and I work well together because we both respect each other's space and appreciate that we both need our alone time as well. We're very understanding of each other, and that definitely helps with the type of people that we are. I would say that the game changer has been living together. This has been the most incredible experience and made us who we are today. I remember waking up thinking things can't get better than they just have been, but they always do. It just keeps topping itself. It's just such a nice feeling. So overall, this is a brief podcast on my relationship experiences and little tips and tricks that I wanted to share. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening to the Fearless Females Voice podcast. Be sure to join our Facebook group called Fearless Females and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye for now.